911, what is your emergency?
There's a child. He's all over the place. We're at North Olmsted Giant Eagle. I don't know what happened to him.
Okay, what exactly is going on?
He's outside. We're in the parking lot right now.
Okay, is the child conscious and breathing?
Is he breathing? I don't know. They're doing CPR on him.
They're doing CPR?
Yes, right now.
Okay, hold on 1 second. North Olmsted units, be advised there's a child that is possibly injured. They're doing CPR on him now. Okay, I'm going to stay on the phone with you for a couple more minutes. I have officers en route. I'm going to get a couple more things from you, okay?
Okay. I didn't see it. I just heard them yelling.
You'll already know just from listening to the 911 calls that today's case is devastating. We're talking about the murder of a 3-year-old, absolutely gorgeous little boy named Julian Wood. Before I kick off with today's true crime video though, I just want to say hi, hope you're all okay. I am wearing my new merch. You can follow the link below if you fancy getting any. Christmas is coming and we all love true crime. Also, I just want to say a massive thank you for all of you who are subscribing to my YouTube membership and to my Patreon. I hope you're enjoying your full-length videos that I'm putting there where I don't have to worry about whether I'm meeting the community guidelines like I have to on this main channel. So thank you. And also, if you are new here and you like what you're hearing, why don't you subscribe, get your notifications on, give us a like. All of that helps. I don't really understand the algorithms. I'm a bit old. I think that these things are beyond me. I think I'm not of the right era to completely conceive of it. But apparently, my son says it's important. So it'd be very helpful. Thank you very much. Now let's talk about this case. And I have a lot of thoughts, a lot of feelings about this. And I am trying to unpick some of those because I am a mother of a toddler and therefore it feels very present and very real to me when I'm talking about a child of 3 losing their life. Also, when I think about the circumstances in which he lost his life, it's one of those things that just seems so completely blindsiding me out of the blue. No one can predict it and makes you question the safety of your life and the vulnerability that you don't necessarily compute on a day-to-day basis but exists around you, because this case evidences it. Let's talk about Julian, who, as you'll see from the photos, is an absolutely delightful looking little boy. He was born November 2020. He was born in North Olmsted in Cleveland. His parents are Margot and Jared Wood, and they are devoted parents. It is clear on every level that that is the case. He also had an older brother, John, also a younger sister, Amelia. The family actually called him Juju. He has been described by many as an absolutely beautiful baby with a rambunctious attitude, which I love. I love the term rambunctious. I just think it says something so wonderful about loving life and grasping everything that you can and just loving it. I think that says something about his nature. Apparently he was known for his laugh, his smile, that attitude of just being out there and enjoying everything. He loved dinosaurs, he loved school. He actually had a really special bond with his siblings. Apparently he had a near obsession with his baby sister. He also absolutely loved wrestling with his older brother. So he's in a really supported environment with loving parents and an amazing family altogether. And yet here we are talking about the end of his life. And for those of you who don't know this case, I will tell you now, it is going to be hard to wrap your heads around it. We all appreciate that I cover child death on this channel. You know that I was working in safeguarding for nearly 2 decades. Of course, I have an obsession when it comes down to child safety. And often we're talking about primary caregivers, step parents, family members doing the most horrendous things to children. And we see that that's horrendous and terrible, and it's just incalculably evil to know that these things happen. But think about the family I'm describing. The family I'm describing right now are the absolute opposite. They are a place where children are loved, where children thrive, where children are protected. That's what his parents are like. So we're in a completely different backdrop to what we would usually be talking about. But in spite of everything I've just said, still, we're talking about a little boy's murder. Monday, the 3rd of June 2024, Julian's mum Margot and Julian are shopping. She's taking him out. As you do. How many times have we seen that? 3-year-old little boy being pushed around the supermarket by mum, having fun, thinking about some treats that the child can enjoy during the shopping trip or after the shopping trip. We all do it. We all remember those moments. That's what's happening. Just a typical, average, normal day. Just nondescript to some degree. You know, things we do all the time. We take for granted that we can do safely. She's at Giant Eagle Supermarket. It's in North Olmsted. This is around 3 p.m. She's about to load her shopping into the back of the car. But what she doesn't realise is while she was in that supermarket, evil was lurking. So as she's loading that shopping into the back of her car, not thinking about anything because, hey, you pass people by, people walk past you in the shops. You're not really taking that much notice when you're in a supermarket. And the reason for that is you're shopping. Your concentration and focus is on what to get for the meals for the week, going through the list that you've brought with you, making sure that your child's okay. That's what you're doing. So your focus is not on anyone else. Your focus is on getting the job done. But what she doesn't know is that while she was doing that, someone else was very much watching her. Somebody was not going about their business shopping. Somebody was there for a whole different set of reasons. So she places this shopping in the back of her car, and then out of nowhere, without any warning as far as she is concerned, she's attacked by a 32-year-old woman who had literally followed them out of the shop. She just charges at Margot, charges at Julian, and then she just stabs both of them. He's sat in the shopping trolley. Bear in mind, he's not been taken in that moment from it. So the protection level that his mother would obviously offer him isn't there because he cannot get out of there. She can't reach him because she is being attacked. And in that split seconds that pass, Julian gets stabbed multiple times. He's stabbed in his cheek, he's stabbed in his back. He's a baby, really, he's 3. Margot gets stabbed in the shoulder. Like I said, the attack lasts seconds. It's just after 3 p.m. when North Olmsted Police Department received multiple 911 calls. They report that this black woman dressed in all black is stabbing people in the parking lot of a Giant Eagle. So understandably, at this moment in time, the police have something terrifying on their hands, need to get there as soon as possible because there could be multiple people who've been impacted by these crimes.
911, what is your emergency?
There's a child. He's all over the place. We're at North Olmsted Giant Eagle. I don't know what happened to him.
Okay, what exactly is going on?
He's outside. We're in the parking lot right now.
Okay, is the child conscious and breathing?
Is he breathing? I don't know. They're doing CPR on him.
They're doing CPR?
Yes, right now.
Okay, hold on one second. North Olmsted units, be advised there's a child that is possibly injured. They're doing CPR on him now. Okay, I'm going to stay on the phone with you for a couple more minutes. I have officers en route. I'm going to get a couple more things from you, okay?
Okay. I didn't see it. I just heard them yelling, and then we were on break in my car. I work at Giant Eagle right now.
Okay.
911, what is your emergency?
There's a lady with a...
Do you have a description of her?
Yeah, she's a black female. We got eyes on her. She's walking towards Lorraine.
Okay, she's outside now?
She's outside walking.
Is anybody injured?
Yeah, somebody's injured. I think the kid was in the mother's holding.
Okay, hold on a minute. Have you sat in? What else does she look like?
She's a black, tall female wearing black leggings, black T-shirt. She's actually walking towards Silver Center on Geppetto.
She's walking out
okay, hold
over closer to Geppetto.
10-4, affirmative. Now she's walking towards Silver. Okay.
Get out of the way. Stop right there.
Ma'am, don't hang up the phone. I'm just going to keep you on hold. I got to get an ambulance heading there, okay?
Now, both Julian and Margot at this point are rushed to St. John Medical Centre. But Julian's 3. He's been stabbed multiple times. How could he have ever survived? And he didn't. He died from his wounds. Margot's injuries were not life-threatening, but I do not doubt for a second that the trauma that she's experiencing and enduring now is to some degree life-threatening. It is hard to imagine how a mother can continue to live, and I have absolute admiration for mothers and fathers who go through this kind of horrific loss and find a way to keep going for their other kids, because what this family have been through is absolutely devastating. I just want, before I move on, for us to just take that second to imagine you're at the shops, you're buying food, you're getting your groceries, you're amusing your child, you're just going about your business. There'll be moments when you're pushing your baby around, because at 3 years old, that's what he would have been a baby to. Yeah, he's full of joy, he's full of personality, full of character, but he's still a baby. Believe me, when you put children to bed at night, even when they're up to 10, 11 years of age, when they're asleep, there's just something angelic. And like I said, almost infant-like, even all the way through their early childhood. So a 3-year-old, they have all this capacity and personality and character, but they're still babies. And essentially, she will have been looking at him during that journey. She will have been noticing beautiful things about him, thinking how lucky she was, probably having those fleeting thoughts of, oh, isn't he cute? Without any knowledge that moments later, everything he was, aside from the beautiful memories that they have with him, will be stolen. The future for him will be stolen. And she was just going to the shops. And it just tells that story, doesn't it? That sometimes we have that myth of security, that bias that things are okay. Because we have to, otherwise we walk around totally anxious all the time. But sadly, it isn't always true. Julian was literally murdered outside a supermarket. It is so breathtakingly awful to imagine that this actually happened, and it did indeed happen. Now, it didn't take the police long. They responded very quickly, and they found Bionca Ellis, who's 32 at the time of murdering this gorgeous boy. She was walking away from the scene. She still had a blooded kitchen knife with her, so clearly they arrested her on the spot. She's banged to rights in that moment. There's no escaping it. Also, there's lots of CCTV.
211, I need a car to go help the kid. These are the first couple aisles.
Where's your cuffs? Get cuffs? Who's got cuffs?
Slow down. Hold on. We're good.
All right.
Yep. Okay. Go to the female or Chinese? Go to the female.
Okay.
Okay. 3 rows farthest north. Copy. I will be up.
Okay. You over on the side? You're good. Who's got a mic in with you?
We gotta get her up.
We have a female in custody.
Are you bleeding? Are you hurt anywhere?
That's right there.
5270 ammo.
Let's get her up.
There you go, man. Hold you up, okay? Grab your other arm.
Go back this way.
52 LO3, I got 3 units.
Slide on you.
1719 myself.
Ellis was charged with 10 counts, including aggravated murder. She was held on a $1 million bond. The local community couldn't believe it. They crumbled, because this is a 3-year-old boy. It's one of their own. And if you can't be safe going to the supermarket, just doing your normal shop, where can you be safe? So the whole community started to rally round. They actually had calling hours for Julian on the 7th of June. It was a Friday between 2 p.m. and 8 p.m. So that was at the Ripepi funeral home. Obviously, it meant that people could pay their respects. They had a mass of Christian burial at 11 a.m. on the Saturday, 8th of June. That was at St. Charles's Borromeo Church. And the public were basically urged to come out and show us that you care. Line the streets. And wow, they did. So they all lined the streets of Julian's funeral procession. They were all wearing the colour green. They brought things like dinosaurs. And the reason for that is his favourite colour was green and he loves dinosaurs. So they all came to show, yeah, we might not have known your boy, but we feel his loss. And it's also that cradling the family. It's saying that we can't share your pain in its entirety, but we can show you that we see your pain and we want to reach into that and we want you to know that your boy mattered. And I think that is just so powerful and beautiful. Like I said, it doesn't make up for the loss, of course not. But for any family going through this, at least it makes them see the meaning their child had to the world. And they said that hundreds, if not thousands of people turned out. And it's so emotional looking at that procession because there were so many signs that read Juju, that was his nickname. Loads of balloons, that gorgeous sea of green just lining the streets as the procession made its way to Sunset Memorial Park. And of course, that's where they laid Julian to rest. And even though, like I said, it doesn't make up for a moment the pain that the family are experiencing, it doesn't lessen it. But there is something about shared grief that in those moments of deep isolation, in the moments where you feel like the world and everything in it has abandoned you, it brings you back to a place where you can share, even just for a second, this sense of connectedness with those that you don't even know because they are reaching into your pain. And I hope that that is something that's really helped the family, not to manage the grief because it's not, but to understand that Julian mattered to so many. And that is important because Julian's not going to have a future. There's something about shared memories. It's what we'll all be in the end, isn't it? Memories. And I guess that we'll be memories for a period of time and then we'll be forgotten too because those who remembered us will be forgotten. But the more people who have those memories of you, the more people who remember Julian, even if they remember Julian because he was killed, the more Julian's presence exists. And I think that's so powerfully important when a child is lost, that even though they're not physically present here, their essence, their being is remembered in so many places and so many spaces, and Julian's will be. The fact that all those people came out is absolutely beautiful. And like I said, it stretched for miles. It passed one area of a place called Brook Park Road, which wasn't far from Birch Elementary School. That was where Julian had literally just completed his first year of preschool. Apparently a lot of people were quiet. Some people, like I said, were holding those balloons and just paying their deepest respects. A GoFundMe's been created, and this again is because people want to provide support for Julian's family. It's actually so far raised over $227,000, and they only actually asked for a goal of $10,000. So you can just feel the way that people are desperate to let this family know, we are with you, we care for you. Nazja Aoud, that's Julian's aunt, she wrote on the site, "Our family is overwhelmed with sadness. This is something no person, no family, no mother, no father, no grandmother should ever experience. We urge you all to hold your babies close. This should never have happened." It goes without saying, doesn't it? It should never have happened, but it did, and it has. And the question is, why? Why did Ellis kill this little boy and also try to kill his mother? It goes without saying that she could have died too. Let's look at Ellis. It's a complex case, this, because we don't have a great deal of information about who she is, where she's come from, what her experience was like growing up, but we can assume she has had challenges. Now, she's also from Cleveland, Ohio. It seemed that there was some very erratic behaviour where Ellis was concerned for quite a period of time. So, for example, late February 2024, the police ended up taking Ellis to Metro Hospital. She'd been at a homeless shelter and she'd started to have these bizarre conversations that were really concerning. So she said she wanted to kill someone. She said she wanted to eat their flesh. Apparently, when they were trying to treat her, she got really agitated. She was fighting nurses, she was fighting doctors, she was fighting police officers. This is all going on in a psych room, so clearly showing high-level violence. She told the shelter staff that she'd killed someone in Bakersfield, California. At the time, the police just didn't think this made any sense because they knew who she was and it didn't seem to ring true. She alleged that she'd used a gun to commit the murders, and when she was asked, where will I find the bodies, she basically said, I don't know, I probably ate them. Now, those statements were literally caught on an officer's body-worn camera, and her claims were really disjointed, they were really irrational, but understandably she's saying she's killed someone, so they've got to do some investigating. And it was following those statements she was taken to the hospital, got the mental health evaluation where she reportedly fought with the medical staff, but they did some investigating. It turned out that the murder claims were completely unfounded. There was no evidence whatsoever that she killed anyone in Bakersfield or elsewhere. Then we get to the 25th of March 2024. This is quite a strange incident. So a hotel in Kissimmee, Florida, they call Osceola County Sheriff's deputies because she's refusing basically to leave the hotel. She hasn't actually managed to book in, she hasn't been able to pay for a hotel room, but she's just refusing to leave, essentially, the entrance area. Now, when the police get there, she says to the police, well, I'm from Ohio, I'd intended to stay in Florida, I was meant to be on vacation, I got here, I couldn't pay the deposit, I don't have anywhere else to go. So she then basically says, can I go to prison? Don't have anywhere to go. She says, you're the deputy sheriff and there's not like a judge that could give me a prison cell, nothing like that. So she's clearly wanting some kind of accommodation. But that behaviour is quite concerning, isn't it? Because when you consider most people don't want to go to prison. Most people are in a situation where prison, even if it's just jail for a few nights, is the worst case scenario. I've either done something really bad, really stupid, or I have done something at least that has made them feel that I need to be incarcerated for a short or long period of time. If you are actually going and causing a scenario so that you can get into prison because you don't want to be cold, you don't want to be homeless, you don't want to be hungry, well, that means that consequences are not going to work for you when it comes down to being incarcerated. There is no punishment if you're trying to get into prison. It means that your life could indeed be deeply problematic to a point where it feels better to be in prison. And that means there's no deterrent. And if you want to get into prison and you're struggling to get into prison, and yes, you're committing some petty crimes, but that isn't resulting in you actually being taken to prison, well, the chances are there's a potential you might amplify and escalate the crimes, so indeed you can go to prison. And I suppose the other side of that is there something going on with her mental health if she genuinely feels that prison is the right choice? So whether it's either of those, or maybe a mix of both, there is something problematic going on in her psyche and her actions. Now, she does, after the deputy speaks to her, go to the church nearby, but then she comes back to the hotel just a little while later. The deputy is then asking her about why she's doing it. He says that she's going to be formally trespassed. He says that she's got to leave the property, but she refuses to go. She says, it's cold outside, I don't have anywhere else to go. Ellis then spends just over a month locked up in Florida. She ends up getting released on the 30th of April 2024. Bear in mind, that is just under a month before attacking Julian.
Can I go to go to prison? Because I don't have nowhere to go.
Well, you haven't done anything to go to jail.
But I don't have any money to have a bed to go to sleep in. I'm not even from here. I'm from Ohio.
She's not being disrespectful, causing a scene or anything, but I just can't have her half sleeping in the lobby.
There's nobody that can help me right now. You guys don't offer help to homeless people.
We do, but we don't have shelters.
Sound like a judge or somebody that can give me a prison cell.
Now, heartbreakingly, and as you would expect when it comes down to our modern age, CCTV recorded the most horrendous last moments of Julian's life. So you can see her in the supermarket. You can see Ellis's exact movements in the lead up to the attack. So before she actually makes her way to Giant Eagle, Ellis had stolen 2 knives from the Volunteers of America shop, which is located nearby. So that's a level of premeditation. She's had the wherewithal not only to go to the Volunteer of America's shop, she's gone in and she's taken 2 knives without paying. So she doesn't want them to see her doing that. She doesn't want to see that she's actually armed herself. So there's got to be a level of premeditation doing that. She's got to be aware of why she's done it too. She then walks into the Giant Eagle, the supermarket. She's visibly holding a knife in her hand. No one seems to notice, which is bizarre to me. But again, everyone's focused on shopping. And even if you did notice somebody carrying a knife, you'd probably think she's buying it. You wouldn't think this woman's going to viciously attack a child shortly. But it's odd watching her. She's making her way through the store. She clearly hasn't got a basket with her. She's not pushing a shopping trolley. And she's just kind of walking and looking. And then, of course, as you'll see from the video, she comes across Margot and Ellis. And for whatever reason, eerily, she makes a 180-degree turn, then begins following them out of the store. Margot doesn't notice. Margot is just doing what I said earlier, going about her business, dealing with the family shop. Margot then opens the car boot, just about to start putting her shopping away. And then Ellis attacks Julian, who's sat in the trolley, stabs him repeatedly in the back of the cheek. Margot was then stabbed in the shoulder because she's attempting to remove Julian from the trolley. Obviously, she would have died protecting her child without a second's thought. I cannot even begin to imagine the survivor's guilt of the mother. I know without a shadow of a doubt she would have taken every single blow of that knife willingly if she could have. She would have done anything to protect her child. And the fact that this woman went for that little boy, because it's targeted, yes, she didn't know Margot, she didn't know Julian, but for whatever reason, she picked him out. She could have stabbed the mother, but she wanted to inflict the agony, the brutality on the child. And I think part of that is because there must be some computing of the fact that if you kill a child, you're killing the mother in a certain way. It's taking out two victims in the same moment, one's still alive. But the impact is so devastating that you feel like a part of you has died. And indeed, I believe that that's how every mother feels, every father feels when they lose a child. But she's targeted him. Now, don't get me wrong, the police said, listen, they were random victims. Of course they were, in the fact that she hadn't stalked them for weeks. She hadn't selected them prior to this event. But it didn't feel random in that moment. Even watching her picking them, it wasn't like she was out of her mind, flailing around, just going for anybody. She turns and follows. That's what's so sinister about it. There were lots of people walking past, but she turns and follows the most vulnerable, a mother with her baby. Now, I get it. The police have said Ellis had no contact with the family before that moment. So what they're saying is there was no antagonism, there was no reasoning. But like I said, when we say it was random, it didn't feel random when you actually watch it. It felt targeted. On the 11th of June 2024, the case was actually moved to Cuyahoga County, but there were so many problems. So her arraignment, it had to restart multiple times because of the way that she was behaving. So the first time that the actual judge got to speak to Ellis, Ellis just refused to answer her. There was also a second video appearance where Ellis said that she didn't know if her indictment had been read to her. She kept her head down on the table. And at this point, Russo made it clear that the indictment could become a death penalty case. The third attempt at the arraignment, the court actually brought Ellis down to face Judge Russo in person, but she just refused to acknowledge the indictment. She said she didn't want to read it. She didn't want to have her attorney read it to her. So she's basically controlling the situation. And then when Judge Russo reads the indictment out, Ellis is smiling. This is while she's listening to all the charges being leveled against her. Then when the judge asked if Ellis was going to plead not guilty, she said sí, instead of saying yes or no. So basically she's being directly asked, are you going to go guilty or not guilty? And instead of just saying, yes, Your Honour, yes, Judge, she just goes sí, which is obviously yes in a different language. So eventually she pleaded not guilty, but it doesn't feel like she's acting how a typical human being would act in these circumstances, and I appreciate that her actions have not been typical, so that makes sense. But I also do personally fear that there is a level of game playing going on where Ellis is concerned. I genuinely feel, having watched her in videos before, that she has a level of cogency. She's relatively eloquent. She knows how to control situations. You'll have seen that in some of the videos, such as at the hotel. So she isn't a person who struggles to manipulate. She puts herself in a position and then she gets what she wants from that position. And I go back to what she was saying when she was basically saying to the police officer that she wanted to go to jail because at least she wouldn't be cold. And it brings me to that point where I think 3 square meals a day, a roof over your head, no bills to pay, everything is provided for you in prison. And if you're of a mindset where you don't want responsibilities, or where you feel that you've come from the school of hard knocks, where you believe that life would be easier if you didn't have to worry about paying bills, and you have a coping strategy mindset where you don't see or fear prison, it's just a place you can exist surrounded by other women, then maybe part of this is to do with the fact that she knows how to play the system. She doesn't want to get the death penalty potentially, but if she can act in a way that suggests that she is potentially insane, maybe that can get her a place for a period of time in a mental health facility. And then when she's competent to stand trial, maybe they won't find her guilty and put her to death. They might find her guilty and sentence her to life behind bars. And there you go. She'll never be cold again. Now, this could just be me making a set of assumptions, but it does cause me to question what's going on. Now, as you will see, before the judge set bail, Julian's father, Jared Wood, spoke on behalf of his family and rightfully so said, Your Honour, that day, 1 week ago, she took everything from us.
Good morning, sir. Could you start with your name?
My name is Jared Wood, father of the deceased, husband of Margot. Your Honor, that day, 1 week ago, she took everything from us. There's nothing that could ever replace my son or anything that my wife and I, even our other kids, are going through. It's horrendous. I really wish no bail, period, or extend it to the max limit possible that you can, at the very least. Just do whatever you can to keep this monster behind bars.
Thank you, sir. Is there anything else you would like to say?
That'll be it. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
That's absolutely what happened. And as he said, do whatever you can to keep this monster behind bars. He wanted the judge, as the family did, to deny bail. So Judge Russo set the bail at the highest she could, which was $5 million, which means there's no way that she was going to walk. And the trial was then scheduled for the 9th of December 2024. Obviously, it hasn't happened yet. It will happen. But I'm so glad that they have gone ahead and made it impossible for her to get out. Because for the family, just the idea that somebody could come along and allow her to walk free for a period of time would be harrowing, because if she can do that to their child, she can do it to any child. The pre-trial hearing took place on the 17th of June 2024. Again, very bizarre, looking at Ellis. She's rocking back and forth in a chair throughout most of the hearing. Now, that could be an anxiety response. It can be a soothing mechanism when you rock. It can also mean that you're feeling very overwhelmed on a sensory level. There'll be a lot going on around you. So to center yourself and not lose where you are in that moment and become panicky, again, rocking can help. And I suppose the other thing is that it gives her an option to blank out everything that's going on. The movement and the focus of the movement basically allows her to get into a separate state of flow where she's just not present, she's not concerned. But I suppose the other part could just be she's letting people know that she's going to be who she wants to be throughout this. She's not going to toe the line. She's going to act how she likes, whether that's disrespectful, whether that's painful for the family to see. It really doesn't concern her. Now, on the 16th of September 2024, Ellis was actually found incompetent to stand trial by Judge Rousseau. She was undergoing a 20-day mental health evaluation. The doctor who was treating her at the time said that the defendant is incompetent to stand trial, but that there is a substantial probability of restoration to competency within the statutory time frame if provided with a course of treatment. So basically, she isn't competent now. She will be competent if she is taking the treatment, and we can get to a point where she will be able to be in front of you in court, in front of a jury. Now, at this point, Ellis was ordered, as you would expect, to undergo treatment at North Coast Behavioural Health. Once that treatment is completed, she will be placed back into the custody of Cuyahoga County Sheriff's Office. Now, the Ohio Revised Code states that the statutory time frame to determine if Ellis could be competent for a future trial is 1 year. Obviously, if Ellis doesn't reach the competence level that's needed to actually go to trial within that time frame, she's likely going to be involuntarily committed to a psychiatric facility for safety measures. But that is going to be very disheartening for the family. I would imagine they want their day in court. And if the case does go to trial, well, of course, Ellis could plead not guilty by reason of insanity. I would imagine that that is what her defence will be. Now, you won't be surprised that during her time at the mental health facility, she's been very problematic. So on the 24th of September 2024, she was actually returned to court. She'd been refusing to take medication at her inpatient treatment facility. So at this point, Judge Russo signed an order forcing Ellis to take medication on the recommendation of a doctor. And doctors also testified that they do not think Ellis is faking her mental illness. They said she has multiple mental health disorders. So they are saying she isn't acting. We feel that she genuinely has these mental health issues. Obviously, it's difficult. It's a guessing game. She could be faking it. She absolutely could be faking it. She could also be very mentally unwell. Like I said, I just struggle a little bit because of the fact that she was very competent when she was discussing her needs with the police officer and asking basically, how do I get to go to jail so I can not be cold? She's very able to express her feelings. And like I said, she targeted that little boy. And there was just that part of my mind that is saying, is this a woman who knows how to avoid the death penalty, how to get potentially nicer treatment than in prison because the mental health facility might allow that? Is it that she is playing the system? But clearly the professionals who are working with her do not believe that. Last year in Cuyahoga County alone, the court found 110 suspects incompetent for trial. The Ohio Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services said the majority of individuals who are court-ordered to competency to stand trial restoration services in Ohio's 6 state psychiatric hospitals are restored to competency status. Ohio apparently has a 75 to 80% restoration rate for felony cases and about a 50% restoration rate for misdemeanor cases. So they expect that they will indeed be able to get her competent for trial. I will likely cover this in full when that trial happens because I have a lot of questions where this one is concerned. I want to know whether I am being deeply suspicious and unforgiving of somebody who has a serious mental health condition. Equally, mental health is not why you kill. You're a killer who also has mental health issues. And in this case, Julian Wood was killed by a woman who had the predisposition, in my mind, to kill. Also, the fact that she's talked about killing before, they haven't been able to actually find any other victims. Does that not mean potentially that she was fantasizing about what she was going to do? Does that not mean that she had the capacity and that she was actually expressing a desire and then went ahead and acted on that desire, and that's why Julian is dead? Either way, what we are left with is a family who haven't ultimately got justice right now. A family who will not be aware at this point as to whether the trial is going to happen or whether this woman is going to be kept at a mental health facility. And for them, I imagine that will be very cold justice. Julian Wood was a vibrant, beautiful, incredibly rambunctious little boy of 3. He was killed on a shopping trip to a supermarket by a stranger who only months earlier was asking to go to prison. I'm conflicted. I know that I come from a world of psychology. I have great empathy with those who have mental illness, and I have worked with people who've done things that are terrible. And part of the reason they did it was because they were struggling with their life, part of which could have been their mental health. But that wasn't the main motivator. It's the behavior within, it's the character within. You're either a killer or you're not. And I know we're all shades of that. I know that even on this channel, I have said many times, if you were to kill my kid, I would come for you. You better hope that you were locked up. And then you better know that I'm patient, because I'll wait and I'll wait and I'll get you. So I know I can kill, but you'd have to do something that would totally decimate my world and steal a life of love from me for me to feel that way. Most of us haven't got, even if we were very mentally unwell, the capacity to go out and harm anyone, let alone a 3-year-old child. I'm very conflicted. I want to feel an empathy for anyone with mental illness because I do, but I hate it when mental illness is used as a reason for this kind of action. It is possible for truly evil people to also develop mental illnesses. And there is just something about her demeanour, and it's not to do with mental health. It's to do with arrogance. It's to do with patronising people. It's to do with ego. There is something about this woman that just doesn't sit with me. There is something about her that feels less ill and more angry, rageful, disrespectful, just ego. I'll let you tell me in the comments whether you think I'm right, whether you think I'm wrong. I guess we'll find out in the end when this goes to court, if it goes to court. But I wanted to cover it now because it's very present, very current, and it's really resonated with me. Let me know your thoughts as ever. Take care, lovelies. See you again next time.